Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for having me here at BitCon. I'm so excited to be here at BitCon. I'm especially excited to be here from my chair. I didn't have to get on a plane. I didn't have to leave my kids and my loved ones, and I still get to be with you all. So, thank you for joining us today, and specifically for coming to spend some time with me. You know, you can be anywhere in the whole entire internet and in the real world, and you're tuning in to talk with me about AI, and it's a real huge honor. So thank you again. I'm so overjoyed to be here with you today to jump into this topic. I'm really passionate about this topic. You'll be able to tell it from the way that I speak. I might speak a little fast. If I'm speaking too fast, tell me to slow down. Okay, I'm watching the comments in the chat, y'all. But my name is Ayori Selassie, and today we're going to be exploring AI and the Perspicacity Effect, navigating the new landscape of expertise. We're all feeling it. We're all feeling the change. And I'm not talking about perimenopause. I'm a woman, so I got to say that one. All right. So I give a lot of talks about AI tools. This is not that. Um, but if you want to hear my talks about that, hit me up. Today's talk is about the future of human potential, and specifically the framework for how we ensure that in the age of AI, we become more deeply, more meaningfully human, and excellent in how we shape the world. We know we saw what happened with social media. We saw what happened with mobile technology. We are not even yet in the early stages of recovering from what we've done to the environment. So we know that humans can have a really bad impact. So we're trying to use this technology to shift it. Um, and in terms of your ideas, I'm going to just shout out a couple of them here. Mia says one idea I think is moving the world forward is that ownership doesn't belong to the privileged few who then gatekeep opportunities from everyone else, and that anyone can be a creator, anyone can be a founder, and anyone can be a builder now. I 100% agree with you. And I want to also share one of the ideas that Austin in the audience said is moving the world forward. And that is with his interactions with AI, hope and optimism, right? Um, and you said, I also use this idea. Austin says, I also use this idea I call my extended will to think about how I'm interacting with AI and why. I love it. I love it, y'all. Thank you. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for joining the session. Um, okay. Um, let's see. Did I actually introduce myself? Um, I don't think I did. Okay. So my background is that I learned to code when I was 11, before the internet was a thing. And also, please introduce yourselves in the chat. I want to hear about your background and what you all are doing as well. So, yeah, I learned to code when I was 11, before the internet was even popping. Like dial-up wasn't even a thing yet. So I guess that kind of shows my age. But hopefully the wrinkles don't show through the filter. Uh, so I started my first company when I was 16, and where I built websites and computers and networks and interactive applications during the dot-com boom. And then later I worked at a venture-backed startup during the dot-com crash, where I was building algorithms for utilities. Yes, I'm an old head. I was building algorithms and AI before this third wave of AI. Not quite the first wave, maybe a little bit more like the second wave. And then I joined Salesforce, the big CRM behemoth, to democratize software as a service. And I've been there for 18 years doing everything from product management to sales to marketing to launching AI products and building coalitions for equity, which is probably one of my favorite things of all. And while at Salesforce, I also became a selfpreneur. And so I run several companies, including selfpreneur.com, where I advise entrepreneurs. And then I have LifeModel.Ai, where I build tools to maximize human potential, like the Life Model Canvas. And then I also run AI Newbies, where I go out and teach people about AI. And I also invest in AI startups and mentor AI startup founders and executives, and also AI investors. So I don't do all those things at the same time because I do have 2 kids. Um, and also, gotta shout this out. I've been a member of this community right here since day one, back when it was an actual web forum. And so shout out to Greg for starting this whole thing. Shout out to the board and all the chapter leaders who make this possible, and all the little hubs, because y'all are amazing. Okay, 6 minutes in. Whew. So to kick this off, I want to introduce you to a quote that really stopped me in my tracks. And that quote is that AI gives experts jetpacks and beginners blindfolds. Whew. Let that sit in for a minute. Because it is something that kind of gives me a little bit of rage. But I also have to like humble myself and remind myself that we're all here to help one another. So on one hand, we have the jetpack, right? The experts who are grounded in years of experience and deep knowledge, right? They are able to use AI to really soar. They know when the AI is tripping, when it's hallucinating. And they're able to use AI to accelerate and innovate, solve problems faster than ever. And they're growing as leaders and reaching new heights. And then, on the other hand, we have the blindfold, right? We have the blindfold. Now, these are the beginners. They are full of potential. They're using the same powerful technology, but they risk something really dangerous: cosplaying competence. Does everybody know what cosplay is? If you like anime, you probably know. It's when you dress up like a Japanese anime character, like in a cartoon. Yes, I am that big of a nerd. And yes, I used to cosplay, and somebody has photos of that somewhere. Hopefully those don't leak out. Anyway, I digress. So these beginners, they can produce something that looks expert and that sounds right. But the problem is that it masks a gap in their own foundational and fundamental understanding of what they're doing. They're moving fast, but they don't know the terrain or the ecosystem. We've all heard the term "the blind leading the blind," right? So this session is about understanding that divide between the people who are using AI as a jetpack and using AI as a blindfold. And more importantly, this session is about how we ensure that for you and your organizations, AI is actually a tool for building real, genuine expertise and making a real meaningful impact, not just creating a facade, right? Not just creating people that sound good in meetings. All right. So now that we understand the problem, what is the solution? The solution is the perspicacity effect. And the perspicacity effect is the powerful result that you get when you combine 2 things. First, knowing deeply the language of ideas. Remember that, the language of ideas. The language of ideas is the fundamental concepts, the breakthrough principles that actually move our world and your field forward. And secondly, we're using AI to accelerate the production of what society truly needs. So we have to put those things together: the language of ideas that moves the world and AI to accelerate the production of what society truly needs. Now, I want you to look at this image on the screen because it contains a metaphor. So what do you see? You know, type it in the chat, type it in the comments. It's a person, right? They're drawing something. And you can see they're painting a bird, but what they're looking at, their actual subject, is there at the bottom of the screen. It's an egg, right? It's an artist with an egg, but the artist is then painting a bird, and that bird is coming off the canvas, it's coming out into the world, and it's touching people to inspire them. So the person here had an idea, and they created something with it, and that idea then went out and moved the world. That is the high calling of using artificial intelligence. That is the high calling of the perspicacity effect. So let's break it down one more level. Perspicacity effect, it's a fancy word. Perspicacity, say it 5 times fast, perspicacity. So it's a fancy word, but it really just means deep insight, sharp judgment, and clear-sightedness. The perspicacity is the ability to see through complexity to what truly matters. Now, we're all technology experts, or we are becoming technology experts. So this perspicacity really matters. The words we use really matter, especially in a world where fake news and misinformation and disinformation and malinformation is going everywhere. The words we use really matter. And then secondly, there's the effect. The effect we're talking about is the outcome when human wisdom meets AI acceleration. The perspicacity effect is a framework. A framework is a mindset or a methodology for thriving in the AI era. So let's talk about the risk if we don't adopt the mindset of the perspicacity effect. This is really serious. The risk is that we unconsciously amplify what Silicon Valley calls the mean. Okay. Remember in elementary school when we learned about the mean, the median, and the mode in math, in arithmetic? Well, AI can amplify the mean in humanity, meaning that AI models are trained on essentially these vast collections output from humanity, right? It's the brilliant, it's the average, and it's also the plain wrong, okay? So this AI is trained on racist stuff, sexist stuff, all the isms and schisms. And without a deep understanding, without our own deep understanding, our own wisdom as a filter, we become conduits for this mean. We can produce polished but generic, uninspired content and output that lacks original thought. And it's polluting our entire information ecosystem. If you work in a company right now, you're probably looking at what's going on in your company and you're like, oh my goodness. If you know your stuff, then you can see the pollution leaking in, the information pollution. This is something that Timnit Gebru talked about years ago. She was the head of the AI ethics group that was unceremoniously fired for producing excellent research about large language models and the problems that they can create. So for organizations, it creates a really dangerous workforce. People who can produce output quickly, but lack the foundational understanding to actually innovate, to adapt, to correct, or know when the AI is flat out wrong. So I have a critical question for you to ponder, and I would love to hear your answers in the chat. Is your organization, the companies that you work for, are they using AI to create breakthroughs or just more noise? Let me know what you're experiencing. Okay, next slide. All right, so breakthroughs. I love it, Tina. Okay. Oh, Tracy says everyone's a novice. Okay. All right. Um, everyone benefits from this perspicacity effect. So how do we fight the mean? How do we cultivate the perspicacity effect? It's really about intentionally fostering the friction necessary for true mastery. It's about embracing the struggle that leads to deep learning. Um, I've noticed that since the pandemic era, people don't talk to each other as much, even at work. People don't collaborate as much. Well, honestly, collaborating with other human beings creates friction. Talking to other human beings creates friction. Explaining yourself to other human beings is friction. Um, the time it takes to coordinate schedules, interact, you know, that's all friction. But that's the struggle that leads to true deep learning for humans. So we have to reframe AI as an accelerator, not a shortcut. It's a tool that can be used to enhance human analysis, but it should not be replacing it. I don't even think you can use AI and large language models for reasoning. Um, Even though they are calling a lot of them reasoning models, um, you have to reason. We have to reason. Humans have to reason because humans are accountable and AI is not. So, so that means that the human judgment must be embedded in every single AI workflow. This is what I believe. I've believed this for years. What do you believe? So essentially, there are pillars. There are three pillars to this. Number one is we have to master the language of ideas, right? A lot of people are talking about prompt engineering. That is not enough. I've been teaching prompt engineering for 2 years. That is not enough on its own. We have to understand the why behind the work in your field. We have to understand the frameworks that are central to the success of your industry, your customers, and your work. Those frameworks are actually what makes the prompts really powerful. Secondly, we have to prioritize critical thinking over prompting. The most important skill will be the ability to question, interpret, and improve on what the AI gives you. I'm seeing a lot of people just take what the AI gives and then just try and pass it off, as their work, to disastrous effects. And then finally, we have to design for human AI collaboration. And so the magic with that happens when our human wisdom, is guiding AI's acceleration and speed. That's where the breakthroughs are born. And I want to say that it's really important when you think about collaborating, when you think about using AI, you cannot put humans and AI on the same level. This is really important. It may be more of a philosophical thing, but an AI is a tool, not a human. Like, do you collaborate with the whisk when you're making scrambled eggs? No, you use the whisk. So we have to use the AI, and you have to be responsible for the whisk. You got to whisk it right. So we have to be responsible for the AI. So collaboration is not really the right term to use here. We really need a new term, but I haven't come up with one yet. Let me know if you have a better term. Now, for the leaders and the decision makers in the room, this is much more than an individual pursuit. It's a cultural pursuit. Your role as a leader in your organization is to build an organization where the perspicacity effect can thrive in your teams and with your customers. So how do you do that? You can start with a framework like the V2 Mom. The V2 Mom, you've probably heard of OKRs and some of the other different types of organizational management frameworks. V2 Mom is one that was created at Salesforce, and it's been central to our success. And basically what it looks like in action is the organization has a vision and values, and every leader serving in that organization and every person serving in that organization has vision and values. And those visions and those values all align, and they support one another from the very top all the way to the very bottom. So your vision and values have to define clearly how AI supports the deeper purpose of your organization, your team's charter, not just your bottom line and what's going to keep your business growing. And then secondly, we have to invest in deep expertise. We have to upskill our teams for systems thinking and strategic foresight. In the past, a lot of that kind of thinking was reserved for the executives and the leaders or the architects and things like that. But now, with using AI to accelerate what we're trying to create in the world, everyone needs to be a systems thinker. Everyone needs to have strategic foresight. We can't just reskill our employees and our teams on how to use a new AI tool. We have to make sure that they are thinking at an elevated level. And then number 3, we have to design for collaboration. And in this case, collaboration is really about creating processes where experts have to review, challenge, and refine the AI output. Remember how we used to spend a lot of time breaking down silos between people and teams? Now we have to break down silos between people and teams, people, individuals, and teams, and also between people and AI. Because now we have AI over here on this team creating silos from this team and their AI. So we have to get really serious about designing for collaboration. And then number 4, we have to foster a learning culture. I get so sad when I see these big companies just laying off all these people who've worked for these companies for years, because these people have so much legacy and tribal knowledge. They know the DNA that made that company what it is. And so we have to foster a learning culture so we don't just throw out all of our talent in favor of a new tool. We have to create centers of excellence and safe spaces for experimentation, mentorship, and reflection. I also believe that we should create new working models, new functional working models where everybody shouldn't have a full-time job. Some people should just be part-time. Some people should be a fourth of the time. But that's even more, what's the word? What would they say? That's a little bit too out there, too much on the bleeding edge for most organizations. But I hope we get there. And then finally, We have to measure what matters. So we have so many people tracking efficiency gains right now. And tracking efficiency gains is exactly how we miss gaps in our people. The people might be efficient, but that doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. So in addition to measuring efficiency, we have to now measure the growth of expertise. We have to measure the depth of the excellence of the people on our teams, because that is going to define the depth and the excellence of the AI and what our company is also able to do. We also need to measure our innovation outcomes, and we also have to measure our ethical AI use. I went kind of fast, but we're getting to the end here. Let's shift gears and let's talk about you. Where do you fit in this world? So the old models of the innovation ecosystem, they need a serious upgrade for the AI era. We have like old categories, people who are researchers, implementers, consultants, power users, those old categories are still there, but AI has completely reshuffled the deck. And now we've created new roles and transformed old roles. And so I want to introduce you to a little bit of an updated map. So this is a little messy here, so forgive my little Google slide skills. This is not super pretty. I could take this into Canva and improve it, but this is what we have for now. So here is the new AI era ecosystem. So at the very core, what I think we have here is a new kind of professional, the expert, right? The expert who is leveraging the perspicacity effect. I also like to call them the selfpreneurs. But this is not really about our job title. It's really about our mindset. And this expert is the person who masters the language of ideas and uses AI as their jetpack. They're mastering the language of ideas for all the things that they care about in their industry. And they're able to really use AI to accelerate the impact that they're trying to make on the world. And then as we go out in the ecosystem and we get more, we kind of have the folks that are in the center, and then we come out and we get more and more. Surrounding the experts are the ideation and the creation engine. So these are the creators. These are the new inventors and the pioneers. They might be AI researchers. They might be prompt engineers. They might be content architects. These are people that are directly shaping and conversing with AI to create things. And then around that is the amplifiers. So in the past, we had people like journalists and writers and kind of thought leaders and storytellers. And now I've really just simplified that. There's amplifiers. And that's especially because of all these influencers that we have. So the amplifiers are really critical for strategy because they help ideas to scale. It's not innovation if it's not adopted. It doesn't matter if it's a new way of doing things. It's not innovation just because it's a nice new way of doing things. It has to be adopted. So amplifiers help with scaling ideas and driving ideas forward. So these are AI leaders. These are venture builders. These are the creators who are taking these core ideas that are really successful and meaningful, and they're bringing them to the world with their stories. with their storytelling. And then holding all that up is the foundational environment, right? The AI infrastructure, the customers, academia, policymakers, all of that. Now, the thing that's unique about this particular AI era ecosystem map is that you can be in all of these at the same time. In the past, if you were a researcher, you were just a researcher. You couldn't be a researcher and an amplifier. Now you can. In the past, if you were an expert, you probably just spent your time focused on expert things. You wrote about things in a very expert way. People would not be able to, normal people wouldn't be able to read your writing and understand what you're saying. In the AI era, that's not the case. You can be an expert and you can be an amplifier, right? So this ecosystem has shifted things and has changed how we have an opportunity to show up in the world and how technology is changing. So all through this new AI era ecosystem is the key tenets of what we talked about originally: collaboration, connectedness, and transparency. These are not nice to have skills. These are key survival skills. So I'm almost done here. So the question for you, each person in this room, each person tuning into this session, is how do you move closer to the center? How do you get really focused on these intentional shifts in your identity and in your work and in your mastery and in your excellence and what you're creating and what you're great at? We're moving away from being passive users of technology to being drivers of AI. We are all ultimately the trainers of the AI of the future. Everything that we create is most likely going back into an AI. And in the future, someone else, or maybe you yourself, will be creating the next level. So people are moving from narrow specialists to more broad synthesizers that can connect different domains. I think the domain expertise and the depth across multiple domains is an incredible opportunity for people of African descent. When I think about people who I've worked with who are African American, oftentimes I will find that they're not just an incredible coder or developer, but they're also a philosopher, or they're not just a designer, but they're also a musician. They're not just a rapper. They're not just a marketer, but they're also a music producer, right? So we have so many things that we have a depth of knowledge in, a passion in. That's why American culture is so, it mirrors African American culture. That's why American culture and pop culture mirrors African American culture, because of our depth across multiple domains. So we get to actually use this in a whole new way. So I really want to encourage you all to go deep in activating the Perspicacity Effect with AI. Now, I know y'all are probably going to have questions like, well, what about protecting my intellectual property? I don't want to use these tools. I don't want to put all my great ideas in these tools. Go get an open source AI. Put it on your computer. It doesn't need to be connected to the internet. Go get yourself a Mac Mini. I really did that one day. I like when the open source, when DeepSeek came out, I was like, oh, it's a wrap. And I went out and bought a Mac Mini that day, and I deployed my own local AI. So yeah, get your own local AI. And Tracy asks, am I teaching sessions on this? I do teach sessions on this. I teach sessions on how to get your own open source AI working on your own local machine. I also teach vibe coding for product leaders, and I also teach content architecture for marketers using AI. And a bunch of other things, but those are some of the highlights. So that's what I think is unique to us. But also, I want to talk about the content creators as well, because you can go from being a content creator to being, as I mentioned, the content architect, right? And you can explain really complex ideas in more simple human terms, and you have the ability to put people on a journey to take them from A to Z on anything that you care about, right? It's just phenomenal what you can do now. And then for leaders, if you're a manager, um, you're going from being a manager to being an architect of systems. You're not just a manager of people and a manager of systems anymore. You're an architect, and you're an architect of systems that unlock human potential. You're unlocking human potential in your employees. You're unlocking human potential in your customers. I know people are really, really leaning on this agentic, and agents talking to agents and all that kind of stuff. And that's still a thing, but it's the human potential. It's the explosive human potential that we have the opportunity to unlock. That's going to really, it's going to really shift our world. So a couple questions I have for you is, how is AI transforming my current work and role? I want you to ask yourself, is it being a jetpack for you, or is it being a blindfold? There's actually a poll in there. If you click on polls, you can actually take that poll. And then also, I want to ask you, what language of ideas, I want you to ask yourself, what language of ideas do I need to master to stay relevant? What are the frameworks that I need to master? What are what's the research that I need to understand deeply that it was very difficult for me to understand before because I didn't have the time or the resources? Because now we have no excuse to not know the depth of knowledge, right? Everything should be accessible. Van Jones, I don't know if y'all know Van Jones, but Van Jones talks about AI. He says, we probably won't get reparations, but we have AI right now, and that's the closest thing to reparations. I don't agree with that. I think we should. I think reparations and repair of harm is something that you should never give up on. But right now, we do have AI, so let's maximize it. And the last question I want you to ask yourself is, how can I move from being a consumer AI to a shaper of it? I want you to ask yourself that question, and I want you to even ask people in your household that question. You might have children, nieces, nephews that are using an AI. So I want you to be asking them, how can they move from a consumer of AI to being a shaper of it? So all right, let's bring it on home. So the Perspicacity Effect is essentially the antidote to shallow AI adoption. It's a framework for using this incredible technology to build deep, meaningful human expertise. And our goal has to be to close the gap between the jetpacks and the blindfolds. We can't support something that is going to make us confident but ignorant. Our future depends on it. We need that so that we can build organizations and careers and companies where AI accelerates the growth for everyone. So my challenge for you, if you're an individual attending this session, is I really want you to lead with wisdom. I want you to master the fundamental ideas of your field. I want you to use AI to accelerate your unique human potential, your creativity, your empathy, your judgment, your ideas. And for the leaders of teams and organizations here, I want you to make sure that your mission is fostering the culture and building the systems that make the perspicacity effect possible for every person on your team. Because if we can do these two things, we can create a future where technology truly serves human ingenuity. We can create a future where together we all thrive. And that's it. So I have some time for questions. And yes, this presentation is available for you all. There is a link. There is a link that should be pinned at the top. Let's see. Here it is. I just highlighted it. So click that link and fill it out. And I will make sure that I send you the slides so you can reference it later. Are there any questions in Q&A tab? Let me see. No questions?
I already had a question earlier.
Oh, shoot, I can hear people.
Well, this is just me, I'm sorry. But there was a question earlier from Tracy. She had asked, when you made that comment about critical thinking over prompting, could you talk a little bit more about that? Basically, when folks are just using the AI demo. Oh, good.
Yes. So there's like 3 different ways of engaging with a large language model AI. Um, you can submit a prompt. You can submit a question, you can submit anything, and it can be very simple, right? It can be very broad, and it will take you down the journey. But then you can actually build a prompt. And this is when we talk about prompt engineering. A prompt is something that will have structure. It will add grounding. A really well-formed prompt will often have documents that might be attached to it, or very specific things that you want the AI to operate within the framework of. When we get this problem of AI hallucinating, about 75% of that hallucination just comes from the fact that we just gave it a very broad, question, and it just went out and imagined about 30% of whatever it came back with. When you ground your work with the AI with a prompt, a well-formed prompt, it might have, as a role, you give a definition for the role. You might give it an objective. You might give it a sample of, here's what I want the output to look like. And here's what I want you to think about. Here's the frameworks that I want you to use. That's a prompt. And a prompt is good, but it's still not great. The next level, the third level, is when you're really making sure that you're bringing your expertise, you're bringing the frameworks, you're bringing all the things that that AI is going to need in order to take you somewhere with it. So, what are your ideas? What are you? What does not exist in this large language model? Right. So the perspicacity effect, a lot of these AIs, they don't even know about the perspicacity effect yet because it's new. Right. So these models are not thinking, they're not reasoning. They are stochastic parrots, as Timnit Gebru calls them. They're just pulling together strings of words. So if we wanted to do something new, if we wanted to create something innovative, if we wanted to have ingenuity, we have to actually bring first our own wisdom, our own ideas, then we bring well-structured prompts, prompt engineering, and then we get to work. Did I miss any other questions?
I'm not seeing any.
And it's saying, I wonder how AI is going to break down fields that used to be separate. I'm seeing some of those boundaries fall a bit. For example, software developer and UX designer becoming a product engineer. Oh, I think you're absolutely correct. I'll give you another example. I talked about content architects. So, I'm an engineer, I'm a salesperson, I'm a marketer, right? Now in the marketing world, most companies that are hiring for marketing roles, they're not hiring traditional marketers, they're hiring content architects, AI content architects. Because if you can do product management and you can manage a product and you can create the messaging and you can create the structure and the assets to support this product, there's no reason why you need to hire a copy editor or a copywriter or somebody to create blog posts for you or to create the talk tracks for all your sessions. You should be able to have a content architect or be a content architect and actually drive that automation. So I'll give you an example for me with some of the AI workflows and AI agentic workflows that I've created is I take my own writing, I put it into an AI agent for my own personal brand. I have an AI agent that specifically goes out and does deep research and pulls back statistics and very specific types of information that I use to make sure that my ideas are very well supported. Then I put it through a content architecture engine that I created. And then finally, I put it through an AI a humanizer agent that I built, which makes sure that my text doesn't sounds like me instead of sounding like an AI using those very common communication devices that give those telltale signs that you're using AI. Sometimes people ask me, like, do you use AI? I'm like, heck yeah, I use AI. I've been using AI for over a decade. Like, I would be crazy if I wasn't using AI. And so we're seeing like that example with the content architect, the AI content architect in the marketing. We're seeing other fields join up as well. There's another interesting effect. I think they call it the Vogel effect or the Vondel effect. I can't remember. I'm getting the term wrong. But it's when essentially, if you look at radiologists, AI can read all these x-rays and things like that. And some people were like, oh, well, that's going to replace radiologists. But actually, no, what it actually did is it just made it so that more people are getting these radiology scans. More people are getting CT scans because the doctor, the radiologist, is no longer the bottleneck. I was in the ER with a loved one recently, and we were there for 5 hours, and then we were able to get a CT scan. That would have been unheard of a decade ago, and that is absolutely because AI is driving scale of these tools. So radiologists are not going away. They're still needed to interpret. You cannot give this information to somebody and have it accidentally misinterpret a screw for a screw from a previous surgery or something like that for a tumor, right? That would scare people. That would terrify people. So you have to still have a person who can actually be the expert, the human in between those insights to make sure that that's verified. So we see the merger of different roles. We see entire flows of work being transformed with the creation of new roles, and we see old roles actually increasing in demand because their industry and their expertise now it has the availability to these economies of scale.
Ayori, we got one more question. I don't know if you've got time for it, but we've got one more question from Monica. and she asked, what skills can she improve to become an expert?
Well,
Can you?
Monica, what is your field? What are you doing? Yeah, type it in the chat, Monica. And also, I believe I've shared my LinkedIn. So I would love it if you all would connect with me on LinkedIn. Ayori Selassie. Um, Not to be mistaken for the Japanese Ayori S person who I'm like, who is this? And why she working, why they, he, she, or they, I'm not sure why they work in the same ecosystem as me, except in Japan. I hope that's not a bot. So
Monica is a support engineer and apparently not a bot. So
say
she
that
put that
again.
in the chat. Monica is a support engineer and not a bot.
Ah, okay, Monica. Oh, so you're a support engineer. Oh my gosh. So Monica, whatever you support, whatever product you support, whatever industry you're in, you got to go deep into that industry. You need to understand the problem that the products are solving in your industry. You need to understand the technology stacks that the products that you are supporting are built on and why they're built on those technology stacks. You need to understand what the future needs of the customers in your ecosystem are going to need so that you can anticipate what the future technology stacks are going to be. So just don't stop at your job description. Keep going, and anywhere that you feel excitement or interest, keep going. Some people are going to say, that's not valuable, that's not important. If you feel interest in that, you keep going. You go until you are a master at that, because it will be valuable. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Folks, that's all the time that we have for the session today. But again, you've got the ability to connect with Ayori offline, So please, let's thank her and move on to some other things right now. Thank you
Thank
again.
you so much, and have a great day, everyone.